Hello, rock and rollers. This is the ElectroJet Rock Show. I'm your humble host, Jett Electro, coming to you from the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. And I also have my esteemed co-host coming to you from Los Angeles, California, Professor Electro.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to show number 5.
All right. Yeah, great to have you with us again, Professor. Show number 5 today is going to be greatest drummers of all time in rock and roll. Our 5 favorite drummers in rock and roll, not necessarily in any particular order. And kids, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot. It'll really help us out.
So we found that it's kind of an interesting exercise to try to pick 5 of the best. 5 of the best drummers, 5 of the best guitarists. And the real challenge is there's usually more than 5 that you want to pick. But if you had to narrow it down, if you had to exclude the rest, what 5 would be left? And so it's an interesting exercise.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to bring to you today, kids. It's going to be a lot of fun. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first this time, Professor?
Yeah, I'll go first this time. My first choice, again, these are 5, but not in any particular order, is Cozy Powell. Cozy Powell played with the best. Played with Jeff Beck, played with Michael Schenker, Black Sabbath, Emerson, Lake and Powell. His solo work with Brian May also, and just a quintessential power drummer and really tasteful. And just had that great double bass, and everything I heard him on, I think he's fabulous, just phenomenal. And he can play quiet, he's dynamic, he can play loud, he can do that great crescendo, building to just the cymbal crashes and that double bass roll. And yeah, Cozy Powell, my first choice.
Yeah, Professor, that's a great one. Really love that one. Love Cozy on the Long Live Rock and Roll album. Very, very crushing on that. I love the drum sound on that. Very, very punchy. Okay, my number 1 is going to be, everybody knows him, the Beast, John Bonham from Led Zeppelin. Definitely the greatest rock and roll drummer of all time. He's definitely in there with all these other guys we're going to put in tonight. He had the power, bloody cannons, mate, and he had the swing, very dynamic, very unique subdividing, very great drum tone. As I said before, swings like a mofo, very dynamic, very original, very unique. So yeah, that's mine, the Beast, John Bonham.
So interestingly enough, I got John Bonham on my list too. Yeah. When I was younger, I wasn't as big on Led Zeppelin as I was on Blackmore, Deep Purple, and Rainbow. I liked them, but I guess maybe it was the sound of Robert Plant's voice, whatever it was. I liked them, but they weren't necessarily my favorite. But over time, obviously, I like them even more. And John Bonham, just got to respect him, and especially when you have Cozy Powell and you got John Bonham, you're talking about 2 of the legendary power drummers of rock. And John Bonham also had that quick bass drum foot. He could do almost double bass on the single kick. And he had those big, big drums, rather than have what a lot of drummers have, a lot of different drums. Bonham kind of went with the less drums and bigger. And that also gave him a different kind of sound. He always had that huge sound that sounded like he was playing in an empty gymnasium or something like that. He just, phenomenal. John Bonham, you got to put him up there.
Right on, yep. My second one is going to be Many Dibba. I love Keith Moon from The Who. Totally over-the-top drummer. Heard some stories about him from the engineering side of things. I think Peter Townsend once said they slowed Mooney's soloed snare drum down to like the speed of the master tape, very, very slow, and they were still hearing like 4 notes going in perfect time. That is called natural talent, kids. His father was supposedly a car mechanic, so he sounded like an engine. And speaking of engines, when Mooney first played with the Who, when he auditioned to him and said, "I can do better than that guy, mate," and smashed the guy's drum set up. When they fired up the Who with Entwistle's bass and Roger and Peter, they said it sounded like a jet engine firing up. So yeah, I love the Who. It's got the fire. Very original, unique drummer. We can probably pontificate on that a little more in another episode just about Moon. If you want to know what he was about, I love reading that Full Moon book by Peter Butler, his personal assistant. They need to make that movie about the movie about Mooney, larger than life character. Yeah, I love Keith Moon.
Great choice. Yeah, Keith Moon, the Wild Man. Absolutely. So my next choice is the late, great Neil Peart. Neil Peart was just quintessential drummer, and Rush in particular, he's a perfect fit for them. And just the detail, the amount of detail, the amount of variations he would put into a song in his drum parts. And he could play anything in such a variety. He had so many drums, but he used percussion pieces, and he used them all expertly and creatively too. A lot of creativity in his playing. So especially with the way that he would mesh with the bass too. I was always in awe of how the bass and the drums were playing sonically and melodically the same thing together, or in some other way together in contrast. And just, one of my favorites and also one of the greatest drummers of all time, Neil Peart.
Yeah, love that choice, Professor. That's an outstanding one. Yeah, I saw Rush quite a few times back in the old days. Yeah, gotta love the Professor on the drum kit. All right, for my next one, I gotta go with, from Deep Purple, Ian Pace. Oh my gosh, that guy can shred on the drums. Completely different than John Bonham style drumming, but very, very fiery. A lot of extremely good touch on the drums. What he decides to play, his subdividing. It's a little more standard, I would say, than, say, John Bonham might be a little funkier and a little more outside. But I love Ian Pace, always did, always will. Absolutely, you can make an argument for him being about the greatest rock and roll drummer in history. So, yeah, Ian Pace is mine. My number 3.
Ian Pace, yeah, I saw him twice. I saw him with Deep Purple, and I saw him with, who was he with? Not Whitesnake. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while, but I've seen him a couple times live, and he also, you can always tell when somebody plays live, just like they do on the album, that's when they're not hiding. They're not hiding behind the mixing board. So, yeah, Ian Pace, great choice. My next choice is kind of an out-of-the-box choice, and I think I'm even gonna surprise some people with this.
Wait a minute, is this your number 3 choice?
Yes.
Okay,
no,
great.
It's my number 4.
Oh, so you picked Ian Pace as your number 3?
No, I didn't pick Ian Pace. No, I was just commenting on your choice. This is going to be my 4th choice. My 4th choice is Eric Carr from Kiss. Now, it seems like a strange choice, but I saw him play live, and he was off the charts, incredible. And I'm sure that whatever he's playing on the album, he has a lot more freedom when he's playing a drum solo live. And he played a long drum solo, and he was just phenomenal. And you think about it, this guy was a stove repairman who joined one of the biggest bands on earth and had to that's a big step up. And to be able to, play that well and play in huge stages and have that kind of stage presence, and he's a great singer. Phenomenal singer. Great. So, his life was cut short tragically, but even though he didn't, you don't have a lot of albums by him. I don't know exactly how many Kiss albums he was on, 2 or 3, but might have been 4 even. But just great. When I saw him live, I was sold. So Eric Carr, that's my next choice.
Wow, that's a great one, Professor. I love that one. And my number 4, I'm going to pick a little outside one out of the box. I got to go with John Panazzo from Styx. I saw Rush a lot with Neil Peart on the drums, and I saw Styx a lot. You wouldn't think to put those two in the same category, but it's very likely. In fact, I would have to say, technically, John Panazzo is actually a better drummer than Neil Peart. He joined the Musicians Union in Chicago when he was 11 years old, I do believe it was. 11 years old, that's very hard to get into. There's a whole story about that. He plays for the song on the records. His touch is phenomenal. His pocket is phenomenal. He's got kind of almost a British kind of pocket. A very, very underrated drummer. I gotta go. He's kind of my dark horse in this list. Yeah, one of the greatest drummers of all time. Maybe the greatest drummer of all time that you don't know he's the greatest drummer of all time. John Panazzo from Styx. That's my number 4.
Awesome choice. Yeah, great drummer, John Panazzo.
Rest
and you
in
have a
peace.
rhythm section that's related too. When he and his brother played together, boy, those guys just must have been psychic in terms of playing in sync with each other.
Yeah, they were twins. I gotta get this in before your next choice, Professor. I gotta say, John Panazzo, rest in peace.
Yeah, definitely. Rest in peace. So my next choice, I had a really hard time because I had two that were very close together, and but I had to go with Tommy Aldridge. And my reason for that is I've seen him 2 or 3 times live, phenomenal drummer live, and he's just been with everybody. I mean, he's played with Ozzy and Pat Travers and Whitesnake and Gary Moore. So, and still can bring it. And, he's a power style drummer. And at his age, to still be able to bring that power style and be able to do it for all this time consistently, you got to give it up to him for that. Just behind him, it was between him and Simon Phillips, who I like for the same reason. Great drummer, and he's just played with everybody. He's played on a who's who of great bands. Same thing, Jeff Beck, Gary Moore. Who else he played with? Michael Schenker, Judas Priest. Oh, he was great on Sin After Sin. Simon Phillips was 19 years old when he played on that album. And just phenomenal. That's just a great album, one of my favorite rock albums. So, but I had to go with, got edged out by Tommy Aldridge. So that was my last pick of the 5, Tommy Aldridge.
Phenomenal. That was fantastic, Professor. Yeah, I was thinking about Tommy a lot. Very influential drummer. I got some stories about when I worked with him, working with some people in the music business in L.A. I love Tommy. We might do a whole thing on him. And, yeah, Simon Phillips, man. I knew I was forgetting to think of somebody. But I'm going to go with my last one on this. I was thinking about this quite a lot. It's very hard because you're leaving a lot of phenomenal drummers out. I'm going to have to go with Bill Ward from Black Sabbath. I'm not the super Black Sabbath guy. I'm sure we'll get into them in future podcasts. But him on all the records, he's just a crushing drummer. I love everything he does with the context of the song, the power, the dynamics. Very creative drummer. Great British behind the beat kind of pocket, crushing drums. Gotta love Bill Ward from Black Sabbath. Probably one of the loudest drummers that ever existed, as far as I know, as well.
Yeah, definitely. He was on my list there. He was one of the ones at the very end. I'm like, oh, who do I pick here? And so I had him on my list of honorable mentions, let's say. and I was trying to kind of fit him there in the 5, but he got edged out, which is it's tough. He also, but he edged out Jon Hyde and Cliff Davies. So there's a lot of other drummers. It's hard to exclude people and say who are the best 5, but that's kind of the fun of this whole deal. So hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, Professor, I love your choices of Tommy Aldridge and giving props to Simon Phillips, because you're actually spot on that. Actually spot on. So, yeah, this has been a really fun one. And what do you think? Is it about time for us to wrap this one up?
About time to sign off. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.
This is the ElectroJet Rock Show signing off. Rock and roll!
Rock and roll!